Hello everybody. It's been a bit too long, I'll admit, but finally we're here and we're here to talk about character cards. Now, before we get started, I want to talk about some things that have changed, or I guess more accurately, some things that have remained roughly the same since the last video that I did on character cards. And one of those things are the folders I'm using. I know it's like a bit of an odd way to start the video, but I just wanted to really mention how great these folders are. Now these are Ultimate Guard Collector's Albums, and these are really, really nice. Got a really nice premium feel to the outside. They got a bit of weight to them, even without anything in them. They've got this nice sort of, I don't really know what you'd call this material, but it's like not like a felty, but it's quite nice. It probably has a name, and I'm just forgetting it. And the best part is the hinges, which you'll sort of see over here. Instead of just having a big curve, like some folders, we'll get to why that's here in a second, these have sort of got a flat edge and then a curved edge. So when you're going through the pages, it sort of avoids the cards, so you don't actually end up hitting the cards on these and potentially damaging them. Not that it matters too much, these are pretty resilient, but I do like to have them all squared away like that. Another thing I'll mention, because I always mention this, all my cards are sleeved. Now it's a bit annoying because you can't find sleeves that fit these cards well, so I kind of use the normal size sleeves and just fold them over. So if you're wondering why some of the cards might look a bit odd, that's why. Now that folder's there in the background though, because these are quite expensive. They're about $40 to $50 per folder, and they always seem to be out of stock. So I've only picked up 3. I've got 2 currently. I've got another one in the post, but I really need like 3 more. This collection is getting very much out of hand. So yeah, just thought I'd mention that quickly. I'm not going to have much frills today. I want to get through this because this is a pretty quick video, relatively, you'll see. So without further ado, I'll get this set up and we'll get started on the video. So let's get started with O2. Now O2 is probably is the easiest collection, second easiest collection to do for any Thomas collector card range. These are so common. I have a folder of spares, and from my recollection, the only characters I don't have spares for O2, they're Edward and Mike. Every other character I at least have 1 spare for. You may also wonder, if you're a bit new to Take Along, why are these guys all out of order? They're not. This is SKU order, or SKU. So in Take Along, unlike Wooden Railway, which is somewhat consistent until you get to Duck, these guys are all in just a random order. Thomas is number 1 still, but then James is 2, Percy's 3, Toby's 4, Gordon's 5, Henry 6, Edward 7. Duck is 8 though. Couldn't tell you why, it's just an inconsistency that they had. So I had to cut the video there for a second because I figured it'd actually be simpler if I just took these out and showed you one at a time. Pull that back a bit. So, these are your 2002s. If anyone asks scans wise, what I will say is that if you go on Twitter, there's a guy called, I'm not sure if it's a guy, might be a guy, girl, called Thomas Collector. And they have scans of at least all the fronts of the cards, or at least most of them. You'll see the further we get along, the more confusing this whole system really gets. Because it's not consistent, and that's kind of why you will collecting Take Along, I'd tell you collect O2 and O3s, because they are ridiculously consistent. And that's the full O2 range, that's it. That equates to what? 8, 9, so 17, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 cards. That's it. If you're wondering why there's a space here, I do a space before I start a new series. So, like if this is the 03 series, so there'll be a card here eventually that'll say 03. So yeah, that's it. Like that's what I mean. It's a small series. It's 24 cards. The only one that beats it is 03. We'll show you now. I'm sorry I'm not saying much, but there's not really much to say about these two series in particular. They're a dime a dozen. They're very common. So they're really just available more than anything else. And that's the end of your 03 series. Seriously, that is it. That is the last card. That's why I said 03 is the easiest, because there is quite literally only 11 cards. And they're not rare. I mean, 02, 03 take-alongs are everywhere. I have spares coming out of my arse of a lot of these. They're just easy to find. As a common rule of thumb with take-along, you'll see this as we enter into 04. The earlier series are always the easiest. Well, the earliest example of any given character card is always the easiest to find. What do I mean by that? Well, it's really easy to find 02 Thomases. But then you start to try to find 04 Thomases, and it gets a lot harder. And the further and further you go along, the more complicated it gets. Thomas is probably a bad example. Honestly, his 04, 05s are really uncommon, and his 06s are a bit more. It seems like a lot of characters were produced in a batch, and then subsequent smaller batches after that. But because a lot of them would have been shelf sitters, especially a lot of your rolling stock, you just don't see a lot of them, especially in the later series. I don't think, for instance, I have a yellow Sodor log loader. But let's move on to 04, because 04 is where we start to actually have gaps. Like, I have a full 03-02 collection. There is not a card missing. The first card missing of 04 is, as I mentioned before, Thomas. You should go here. And I'm not going to tell you every card that's missing. I won't be able to remember them all. Like, that's Gordon, I can tell you that. My knowledge on SKUs for Take-Along is a little bit vaguer. But I'm doing pretty alright. Donald, Douglas, Duncan and Mike are both missing. You can also see the change in logo here. They got rid of the dash in 04. Some cards like Duck would stick with this style up till about 07. You'll see that as we get on further. You'll see that there's some discrepancies, but by 04 it was still relatively consistent. Let's put that back in. Like this is a lot of gaps. And I can't remember what half these cards. I think Murdoch. Can you get a Murdoch? You may wonder, why did Bill and Ben have a dash here? Well, that's because this is a slightly different style. I will show you this one. I'm not going to show you the reverses of a lot of these. But I'll show you this one. This is a fairly uncommon 04 style. It's sort of an amalgamation of what you had for the 03 and 02, and what you have for the 04. But you end up with a kind of odd card. I can't remember half of these. I feel like I want to say Spencer's here. Oh, Spencer. I kind of want to say that this is the milk tanker and the caboose. The caboose! Fuck me, the caboose is hard to find in a lot of years. Here we are. But I still have a fair few of these. Again. Now, the wiki, I think, says maybe these guys went to 04 individually. I haven't found any 04 cards, so I'm not sure. I think I might be missing... I think what that one is, that one might be the rusty... Oh no, it probably wouldn't be the rusty one, actually. Wasn't he a little bit later? Road vehicles, a little bit messy. I think I'm missing Birdie. Surprisingly a hard one to find in some different years. I want to say Elizabeth Bolgie I'm missing. Yeah, Elizabeth Bolgie. Phew. Thumper's there though. Oh no, there's Bolgie. Jack and Alfie. Alright, that's the end of the 04s. And you can see, even by the time we get to the 04s, I'm missing a lot more. And this is what I'm pretty sure every card that I've just stated would have existed. So I'm probably missing at least a third, if not more. 05, surprisingly for me, a bit more consistent, which we'll see. 04, bit of a weird year because you sell a lot of 03 stock on shelves. I can imagine that would be probably the reason. I will say, as a year, I probably would collect 05, just for the variety. You ended up getting most of the range. They're all in relatively consistent styles. That's this sort of take-along logo. That's it. And I think 05, if I were to say collect something other than 02, 03, you may as well collect 02 and 03. I would collect 05. Consistent across the board logo-wise, so it makes them really nice in a folder, but still a lot more of the cards available. Duck Donald Douglas missing here. And you see, like, this is a full sheet. This is done. And a lot of these are fairly common. See, the Bill & Ben's now got the right logo. Mavis must have been one of the ones missing. Mavis is a surprisingly hard card to find, actually. Generally, a bit tough. A lot of these other ones are relatively simple. I think Lady Murdoch a little bit. I have like 7 of these Fergus cards. The 05 is just so obscenely common that you really just run into only the 05. And you'll see here, I have them for other years, but it's definitely a more obscure and harder one. There's the 60th anniversary Thomas. That's a cool card. You also get one that's just silver Thomas. We'll see that later, but this is probably a bit nicer. That would be Milk Tanker and the Caboose. Again, just dumb, hard to find. As I mentioned in my other video, this is just your these are just your English ones, not your international ones. Those I'm going to save for a separate video because these I'm just showing the fronts. And that's just because, really, this is just a collection video just to show you what I have. But the internationals, I really want to show you the backs, and I want to do a bit more of an in-depth dive, because I still think, to this day, for both the Wooden Railway and the Take-Along range, it's so poorly understood. Even by people, even by myself, I'm still trying to figure out some of the intricacies of it. So, yeah. As you can see, like, again, this is 05. I am not missing a lot. Nearly finished, and then genuinely, I think that might be the last, whatever that one is, must be the last card I'm missing. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's the last card I'm missing. I've got the full rest of them. I want to talk about Butcher later, but I'll save that for when we start getting into the yellow 07s. And yeah, 05, simple here, some complicated cards. It's like collecting 01s for Wooden Railway. Some complicated cards, yes, but on the same token, there's enough common to uncommon that it makes it a challenge, but not impossible. Now let's talk 06. 06 is where things start to get a bit messy, but 06 is still viable. No, it's not. Is it still as viable? No. No, you'll see why. It's just... Now, 06 has 2 different styles, alright? This blue one, which is very similar to the 04, I mean the 0405, and this yellow one. You'll see this becomes a big problem in a minute. And why there's weirdly gaps, I'll show you on the next page. But also, we have the metallics coming into the fray. As for the rarity of these cards, a little bit. I think I have duplicates of most of them now, but that's because I've specifically bought lots that have those cards. Definitely a bit harder to find. Some of them more than others. I mean, Thomas is pretty common, and you'll sort of see that in the cards I have, and I'll mention it when we get to them. The other annoying thing is their SKUs are the same as the standard cards. That's why they're interdispersed throughout the folder. Now, let's talk about what makes 06 painful. A lot of cards had both styles in 06. Now what this means is that you end up in situations where there are 2 cards per character in 06, except for the new releases. I think even then there's a bit of inconsistency there too. It just makes it challenging. It just really, really, really hard. So your option could be collect one style of 06. I would not recommend collecting both. And then we got metallics. Yeah, look, these are cool. They're cool. Common enough. Fairly scarce. Toby's a fairly rare card. Not one you see a lot. On the flip side, literally, Gordon and Henry too. Definitely scarcer ones. Definitely. So that's a different style of Edward I'm missing. Duck? Yeah, he's still got the dash. I don't know why. This is definitely an 06, just to prove it. Yeah, he just kept it. He's one of those ones that's an exception. It's just kind of weird how that worked sometimes. That's it for this sheet, yeah. There's 30 sheets per folder. We're getting there. Then you see I only have... some I'm not sure, like maybe there's another style for Douglas, but I'm not 100%. Or Diesel 10 for that matter. Or Lady for that matter. Or Mike. But I leave the spaces regardless, just in case. I do prefer this style of organizing because it tends to be a bit more helpful for you guys at home to see that, yeah, I don't have them all. I've been collecting take-along cards for the better part of nearly 4 years by this point, and I'm still missing massive gaps in my collection. It's not something where you just jump in and get most of the cards straight away. If you just want the earliest of each card, take-along is a really good place to get started on that, because finding the earliest year for these guys, very easy. When you start talking about later things, it gets hard. In saying all that, though, here is a nearly completed sheet, actually. I think this card exists. That's a Diesel. There's some surprise I have. Both styles for Fergus for 06. I think this might be the more rarer one. Look, this card of Rusty's harder to find. I see it enough. But because Rusty wasn't sold individually till the Yellow series, so 07, 08, this was a set exclusive card. Only 1 year though, so only one style from what I know. Common enough. Ranking it out of 5, like a 2, 2.5. Probably 2.5. Probably just 2. And this is what I was talking about that silver. And these tend to be in worse shape overall. I think you could only get them in a box set. Mine's not that great. I think the other one I have is worse, would you believe? I will mention Dennis quickly. Look, Dennis is one of those cards that's really easy to find the first year, really hard to find in the others. You'll see that in the next couple I talk about. Come on, get on there. Get on. Come on, there we go. Another one that's kind of like that. Molly and Neville. Very easy to find first year, very hard to find any other years after. I love this card. Coley, I've got both styles. Maybe that exists. Again, some of these are a bit hazy. These are cool. I think I might need the Thomas one there to go there. Look, it's the fucking Soda Line Caboose for once. Yeah, I have like 3 years of this. It's ridiculous. And the Troublesome Truck, which I just realized since like 03 hasn't fucking appeared at all. Lovely card. I like that card. It's so creepy. The one thing that makes Take Along weird is that they didn't discontinue any characters. I think a couple. I think actually one of the, not many characters, I should say. Like the Magic Cargo card was gone after 06, but for the most part, yeah, it's a weird card. I don't hate it, but for the most part, they didn't really get rid of anything. It all kind of stuck around to the end. See, there's a lot. And this is where I mentioned that finding the cards for Rolling Stock way harder than finding the cards for Engines. Rolling Stock's just really hard, generally. My advice to you, if you're trying to collect these, don't get like blinded by the fact that, oh, I've got so many cards. You will, but most of them will be Engines. And then you'll have Road Vehicles, and then you'll have Rolling Stock. The Rolling Stock cards are just rare, and they get harder and harder to find in different years. These are what I like to... This is why that theory of the shelf sitters really came along for me, because these are the kind of cards where you can find them in yellow, and you can find them in whatever, but they're just not easy to find, and it's kind of reflected here, actually. I have a lot of variants, but these are all first years for a lot of these cards. So you sort of got a couple of different production runs. So that makes it kind of misleading. And you'll see when we get to the yellow series just how cumbersome this can really be to collect. But then you don't have to collect like I'm collecting. There's not one way to collect character cards. I know like Ryan collects styles. I know another guy I know called, Trick Shotter. He collects based on, he collects just a single year really for now. Which is a good way to get started, is just pick a year, finish it, and then move on. Granted, collecting character cards is very challenging because a lot of them are either sold with the character or in big lots. There's not a lot of people out there selling individual character cards. I think you've got... I mean, I'm hoping to start soon. I've got a lot of cards sort of stored away for that purpose. But you've only really got me, maybe. You've got Totally Thomastown, I think, does it too. They got some really nice ones. I think we've picked up a few internationals from them. But generally, very challenging. We're nearing the end, actually, of 06. And if you thought 06 was a mess, 07 is worse. It's a trend I really like to call the 07... 07 as a year for Thomas and Friends is such a gigantic mess that I'd almost say if you try to collect these, stop here. Because... it's a good place to stop too. Because when we start talking about 07, we start talking about styles and different styles, and did this card exist or not? And did it have this logo, or this logo, or this logo? It's just a mess. And you'll start to see that when we start looking at these, because there's a lot more gaps, and it's very much just dumb things. Alright. Thomas. And then nothing. It's just nothing. I mean, that'd be a yellow Thomas. No James for this year. I don't have one yet. No Percy for this year. I mean, the next card we have on the chopping block is Toby. Oop, we lost one. Trying to make a runner. Don't worry, it goes here. I try to make the gaps as consistent as possible so that these are all for missing cards. But then things come along and I'm like, fuck, that exists? Come on, man! Like, I think Carnival Toby, you'd think 07 or 08. It's both. I'm talking about a fucking nightmare. So there should be more gaps here is what I'm trying to say. Yellow Henry, Edward. And they're like, just look, this is what you get to see going forward. Just a lot of gaps. I mean, we got Donald, Diesel 10, and Lady. That's what makes this so hard to organize too, is because these sheets are not cheap. They're not expensive, they're not cheap. But I obviously, and like honestly, for some of these, only half filling. Like this is the same thing. 3 cards. Mike, Salty, Harvey. I don't have the 07 yellows for any of them. This is a much better complete page. But even then, like, we got Bill and Ben, Emily, including this, which is this is a fairly more. This is what I'd say is more a 3 character card out of 5. Spencer. And that's it. Like, that's fairly complete. But even then, still missing a lot. This is a fairly incomplete but complete in some ways. I mean, Fergus is really hard to find, period, in later years. He was like 05, 06, and then really, you're struggling. Again, another 3 out of 5 for the rarity of that Diesel card. Dennis and Molly. Yellows, just fucking rare. Same with Neville. Like these 3, funny enough, ankles like that. Very hard to find in yellow. Also hard to find in yellow. This is actually chopped off at the bottom, sadly. But it's the best one I've got. So it seems like I'm rushing through these, but genuinely, we're getting to the point where it's just whatever. It gets easier, actually gets more complete in a second, and you'll see why. Another 3 out of 5 card. I don't see that one too much. Companies will launch in 07, so you got both styles, and they're fairly common. Don't remember what those are. Maybe that's Mighty Mac. No, he'd be... Oh, no, it could be Mighty Mac. And this is one of my more complete pages. The only one I'm missing is Sir Handel, which may or may not actually have a yellow card for this year. Fairly common. Like, again, Oliver is one of those characters that's just been getting more expensive in Take Along and in Tomy. But really, he's not that uncommon in Australia. I've got maybe 2 or 3 Olivers sitting around, and I've got at least the same amount of character cards. It's like an Oliver tax has sort of started to inflict everyone. Two different Billy styles. Again, these guys are a bit harder to find in both styles. I think one's a US, one's an Australian style. Alright. Well, this is what we're talking about. This is the start of the vehicles. That's it for 07. That's it for this page. And I mean, does it get better? Kinda. As I said earlier, you just don't see these guys in yellow. It's just not something that happens. Now look, this is a much more complete page, and you can see this is really the testament how long I've been collecting for. That I've actually got at least some of these. These ones aren't too bad. The zoo cars. That's another really hard to find one, the carnival cars. This might be the only thing where I'd say Thomas Collector might fall a little bit short, is that it's easy to understand the obverses and the variants of them, but when you start looking at the years that match obverses, by the way, when I refer to obverses, it's a bit of a coin term, but I like to use it for here. Obverse is the front, reverse is the back. When you start looking at the reverses that go with the obverses, that's when things start to get really, really confusing. So I'd almost say be a collector card, be a style card collector. It means collect based on the style of the obverse, not of the reverse, because that's when things just get really, really messy. What was the weird Hector card? Oh yeah, and this page. And the other one here's Poppin' Popcorn. Very common card. Maybe not for 07 actually, maybe more common in 08. No, 07's pretty common. Alright, there. Now we've got one more sheet here, and then we're going to move on to the next one. And this is actually fairly complete. Just missing some of those earlier ones here, actually. Butch in 07, there are 2 styles. Didn't know that before. Quite cool. You see, it's just like a missing Terrence. Thumper like Ducks, one of those cards that still has this fucking style in 07. It's frustrating. But you can see that that's pretty consistent. That's a lot. Like, the yellow for these tends to be a lot more common. Maybe because by the time yellow came along, these guys had sat for so long that they'd actually all sold. To all of you wondering that we are nearing the end. This was always going to be a bit of a longer one. Apologies. We have whatever's left in this one, which actually, I say that and then I look at this going, no, that's still like a lot. Again, because they didn't really discontinue anything, the later you go, the more annoying it gets. Now, we're still in 07. I'm seeing Jack. These 2 cards. Alright. I want to take a break for a second. So, these 2 cards here. Now, this one I've gotten a lot. Which I bought a lot partly for this card. These are probably what I'd call 4 out of 5 cards. Just very hard to find. This was the fucking one that was like $300. Now I only paid 5. He dropped the price so much that I basically went, screw it. Just buy it. It's shit. It's shit, but it's cool. Thomas is not here. James, Kubi. We're in 08s now, I should say. A lot more straightforward. 08's probably a bit better to collect, actually, because of how straightforward they are. I want to put it here like that. Oh, look, well, this is a fairly complete page. I should mention that the Carnival Toby there, I think, is not meant to be there. Well, maybe it is, actually. Oh, look at this. Consistency. And it's gone. Like, Mavis is one of them, isn't it? Yep. Obscenely rare card. That's just impossible to find. There's a few like that where it's just, yeah, nah, you're not finding that one. Not easily. In fact, there's one coming up right now. Do have a yellow Neville. That's quite rare. Yeah, yellow Coldy. I know. I think one of the people. Well, I know Ryan once sold one of these cards to someone. He had the item boxed, and they deliberately asked to have the card. They wanted because the shipping was so high to wherever they were. They wanted just the card. So they paid for the boxed item just for the card. Now I laughed at that at the time, but I've now done pretty much the exact same fucking thing for a Take-Along 03 International. Now, I know I'm talking about them now, but they are really, really rare. Now, the only card where I'd say the whole set, each individual card, is probably a 4 out of 5. almost worth rating internationals on a different scale, to be honest. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's right. These are all launched around this time, so you can see that it's a lot simpler to get a lot of these later ones. Even then, like, my Stepney looks like shit. Keep going. Oh, wait, would be a good year to collect too. You can probably collect this style rather than just collecting the year. Yeah. Can you tell again that the Rolling Stock's rare? Weirdly, the only one I have this time is Soda Line. Just empty. It's just empty, and I mean, it doesn't get better. This is a bit better. Some of these are quite rare, actually. Like, this is a fairly rare card. Really nice one, too. Okay, it does get better. I mean, like, this is a lot more consistent. You got both Pop and Popcorns. That's the set exclusive one. I'm actually surprised I have both set exclusives for the Pop and Popcorn. Both years. Road vehicles get a bit harder to find by this point, but I still have a fair few. But actually, I think the rest in here are internationals. Yeah. So, that is the end, except for one last sheet. Now, this sheet's only in SKU order. There isn't gaps for this one because this is a bit more complicated. These are all 09s. Now, 09 as a year, I would say generally gets the ranking of 4 out of 5 for me. Again, these are just not common. What do I mean by 09s? Well, this is just dated 09 on the back. I don't even know if they did every card in 09. I've only ever found these 5. And I think that's worth mentioning because I've been collecting for a long time. And the fact that out of that whole time, I've only found 5, similar to the Wooden Railway video, says just how hard to come across these are. It's the end of an era, quite literally, for character cards. Now, I don't want to get into internationals today, but I will show this one, only because I've actually now acquired 3 more of this style. This is the earliest international take-alongs you can find, and they are really, really rare. I reckon there's about... The full set, I reckon, is at most, absolute most it could be, is 80. It's not going to be that large. It's probably going to be more like 50 to 60, and the fact that I've only got 4 says something, and I've had to really struggle for those 4. Frankly, for these, other than the first one, Percy Pierre, I paid well and truly over $20 to $30 a card. But Ron doesn't know this one yet. I didn't tell him, but I ended up having to pay about $60 for one of them. Just the card. That was bad. That was really bad. Haven't really told anyone yet. Because I kind of wanted to keep that one a secret because that's it's a bit much. Anyway, where does this all leave us? What's the whole point of this? There isn't one. No. Take along card collecting. I would say, if Wooden Railway card collecting is in, oh for God's sake, it's all coming to pieces. If Wooden Railway card collecting is in its infancy, this stuff is well and truly in its formative years. Not formative years, I mean, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to multitask, and that's always a bad thing. This stuff's well and truly still being researched, still being understood to the same extent. You do at least have a pretty great resource in the Thomas Collector on Twitter to really help you through. But again, that's currently only obverse. I know they're looking at reverses now, but that's really currently only obverse. But I think what should be clear actually, or what might be the one positive from this, for me at least, is that I completed this and I went, you know what? I'm missing a lot, yes. But I'd still say I'm 60 to 70% now. 60-70% done with this collection. There's not a lot really left. There's a lot of annoying ones, but not a lot of the boring ones. Or sort of the more, not boring, more simple cards. There's still a few. I mean, anything pre-06 should be easy enough to find. I just haven't found a few of them yet. It's just when you start looking at 06 and 07 and 08 and 09, and even then my 08 collection is pretty complete. Anyway, this video has been going for way too long. I've babbled for way too much of it. Not sure what the next video is going to be. We'll have to wait and see on that front. I can tell that I actually have a very quick room tour. I have got a new table in here. I sanded it, but it's pretty rough, but I kind of wanted that. There's that set sitting there, and then a whole bunch of things. This was a $100 lot I bought. Not bad, all things considered, but the rest of the room is just chaos right now. Somewhat organized, somewhat chaotic. Bit of a mess. So my job's going to be to clean this up. I do have another lot coming in that I will film a video on. It's just huge. It's just almost overwhelming, that lot though. But stay tuned, wait and see for that. Thank you all very much for watching. Sorry it's taken so long, and bye for now.